What is ecosystem? A complex relationship between all the living and non-living things, such as plants, animals, organisms, sun, water, climate, and etc. interact with each other is known as an ecosystem. Ecosystems are the foundation of biosphere and maintain the natural balance of the earth. For example, let's take the relationship between sheep and lion in the ecosystem. For its survival, the lion eats the sheep, and each relationship like this has an effect on other creatures and plants living in the same area. Hence, if the lions eat more sheep, it has an effect on the plants too. They begin to flourish. Since there are not many sheep to eat the plants, its organisms in the ecosystem plays an important role. So, anytime a foreign factor is put on ecosystem, poses a major threat to the ecosystem. This happens because the foreign factor can deform the natural balance of the ecosystem and harm it potentially. This foreign factor could be anything ranging from rising temperature to the tsunami. Not just the foreign factor but man-made can also destroy the ecosystem. What is species? A species is a group of organisms that share a genetic heritage, are able to interbreed, and to create offspring that are also fertile. Different species are separated from each other by reproductive barriers. These barriers can be geographical, such as a mountain range separating two populations, or genetic barriers that do not allow for reproduction between the two populations. Scientists have changed their definitions of species several times throughout history. Biomes or the global ecosystem. A biome is a geographically extensive type of ecosystem. A particular biome occurs wherever environmental conditions are suitable for its development, anywhere in the world. Biomes are characterized by the life forms of their dominant organisms, but not necessarily by their particular species. On land, biomes are generally identified by their mature or undergrowth vegetation. In contrast, aquatic biomes are usually distinguished by their dominant animals. Biomes are classified using a system that is used at an international level that is by ecologists working in many countries. Major biomes. Natural biomes are characterized by their dominant ecological communities, which are composed of particular assemblage of plants, animals, and microorganisms. There are also anthropogenic ecosystems that are strongly influenced by human and their activities, such as cities and agricultural land. In fact, all of the modern biomes have been influenced by people to some degree and of organochlorine chemicals such as DDT and PCBs that humans have manufactured and dispersed to the environment. Terrestrial biomes. Tundra is a treeless biome that occurs in environments with a long, cold winter and a short, cold growing season. There are two types of tundra, the alpine and the Arctic. Alpine tundra occurs at higher elevations in the mountain regions, even in tropical countries. Arctic tundra occurs at high latitudes, that is in northern regions of the northern hemisphere and southern parts of the southern hemisphere. Most tundras are a meteorological desert because they receive sparse precipitation. Nevertheless, the soil may be moist or wet because the cold environment restricts the amounts of evaporation that occurs, and frozen soil may prevent deep drainage of water. Boreal forest. Boreal coniferous forest or taiga is an extensive biome of environments with a cold winter, short but warm growing season, and moist soil. It is most extensive in the northern hemisphere. The boreal forest is dominated by coniferous trees, especially species of fir larch, pine, and spruce. Temperate deciduous forest. Temperate deciduous forest occurs in relatively moist, temperate climates with a short, moderately cold winter and warm summer. This biome is dominated by a mixture of hardwood tree species. Most of the trees have seasonally deciduous foliage, meaning their leaves are shed each autumn and they regrown in the springtime. Temperate rainforest. Temperate rainforest develops in a climate in which the winter is mild and precipitation abundant year-round. Because this climate is too moist to allow frequent wildfires, old-growth forest often develops. The old-growth forest is dominated by coniferous trees of mixed age and species composition. But some individual trees are extremely large and can be centuries old, sometimes even exceeding 1,000 years. Temperate grassland. Temperate grassland occurs in temperate regions where the annual precipitation is 25 to 60 centimeters per year. Under these conditions, soil moisture is adequate to prevent desert from developing, but insufficient to support forest. Temperate grassland is called prairie in North America and steppe in Eurasia, and this biome occupies vast regions in the interiors of both continents. Chaparral. Chaparral develops in south temperate environments, which so-called Mediterranean climate, with winter rains and summer drought. Typical chaparral is characterized by dwarf trees and shrubs with interspersed herbaceous vegetation. Period of fires are characteristics. Deserts. Deserts can be temperate or tropical, and it most commonly occurs in the continental interiors or in the rain shadow of mountains. The distribution of desert is determined by the amount of soil moisture, which in the temperate zones is generally associated with an annual precipitation of less than about 25 centimeters. The driest desert supports almost no plant productivity, but less dry conditions may support communities of herbaceous and succulent plants. Freshwater biomes. Lentic ecosystems contain standing or very slowly flowing water, as occurs in lakes and ponds. The ecological character of lentic systems is most strongly influenced by water chemistry, particularly its transparency and nutrient concentration. Waters that are well supplied with nutrients are highly productive or eutrophic, while infertile waters are unproductive or oligotrophic. Marine biomes. The open ocean consists of pelagic and benthic ecosystems. The pelagic or the open water ecosystem is strongly influenced by physical and chemical factors, particularly waves, tides, currents, salinity, temperature, light intensity, and nutrient concentration. The rate of productivity is small and comparable to that of terrestrial desert. The primary production is associated with phytoplankton, which range in size from extremely small photosynthetic bacteria to larger but still microscopic unicellular and colonial algae. The phytoplankton are grazed by tiny animals known as zooplankton, which are eaten in turn by larger zooplankton and small fish. Large predators such as bluefin tuna, sharks, squid, and whales are the top of the pelagic food web. The benthic ecosystems of the ocean biome is supported by a sparse rain of dead biomass from the surface. The benthic ecosystems of the deep ocean is not yet well described, but it appears to be somewhat rich species, low in productivity and extremely stable over time. Human-dominated ecosystems. Immense areas that were once occupied by natural habitats have been converted into land uses that serve the human economy in various ways. These human-dominated ecosystems are anthropogenic in the sense that their characteristics are a consequence of environmental conditions associated with the activities of people. The character of these ecosystems may be an intended result of management practices, as is the case of agroecosystem in which crops are grown, or horticultural ecosystems where the intent is more aesthetic. Less deliberate anthropogenic influences such as pollution and disturbance also affect the character of human-dominated ecosystems, often by causing ecological damage. Ecoregions and ecozones. As we have learned, biomes are geographically extensive ecosystems that occur anywhere in the world where environmental conditions are suitable for their development, and they are characterized by the life forms of their dominant organisms rather than by their particular species. Learning about biomes is important because it provides insight into the character and environmental influences on major kinds of ecosystems.